Monday, July 9th, 2018, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. This morning I want to talk about hyperinflation and cryptocurrencies. I think cryptocurrencies and the emergence of cryptocurrencies could be pointing to a hyperinflationary collapse of the monetary system. It's weird because I was looking at this book here, When Money Dies by Adam Ferguson, and I recommend it, from 1920. It's about the German hyperinflation, 1923. And I found an interesting passage in it, and I'll come back to it later before we look at the markets. I also found a really interesting passage in Fiat Money Inflation, which is a classic by Andrew Dixon White, about the inflation, hyperinflation that resulted in the 1790s period in France. So yeah, it's just before 9 a.m. today, a little later than usual. And gold and silver are actually up a little bit. Spot gold is at 1260.66, up about $6. The high has been 1262.41 and the low 1254. Silver is at 1613, up 8.5 cents. The high has been 1620 and the low has been 16. Just to show you quickly here the chart of gold going back to let's see, yeah, 2015, and you can see there are two trend lines. One that we broke a few weeks ago, and then a longer term trend line with the low from December 2015, the low from late 2016. It looks like we just bounced off that line, so that's encouraging. Only encouraging, of course, but that looks okay for now. And it looks like we made a double bottom as well with the low from December 2017, which was around 1236. Recently we traded down to 1238, so that looks like could be a double bottom. So let's have a quick look at the price of silver, chart of silver. We broke out, of course, in the middle of June out of this big triangle, and then they smashed it down, of course, and we even went below the lower end of the triangle, and right now we're trying to get back above into that triangle, which is roughly around 1620. So you can bet the bullion banks are watching this chart. The Dow up 144, up 0.6%, 24,595. S&P up 0.5% as well at 2771. The NASDAQ 100 is up 0.5% as well, 37 points to 72.44. The currencies, the pound just started moving up here a little bit. It's up 1/3% at 133.37, up 51 pips. The euro is up 1/4%, 117.67. And the dollar is down slightly against the yen at 110.40. Oil is fairly subdued. It's actually down a little bit, 72.13, up down 0.5%. Just want to show you also a chart of the Dow, which I found quite interesting. It's a long-term one, weekly, going back to 2009, even a little bit before that. And this is where we are right now in the Dow, choppy. It looks like we've topped and we're just consolidating before another move lower. So this gives you a better idea where we really are, in my opinion. So now to hyperinflation. I know we're not having hyperinflation, of course, at the moment. Hyperinflation is basically the loss of confidence in the currency, where people run away from the national currency. In the case of Germany, it was the Reichsmark back in the post World War I period. It wasn't the Deutschmark. The Deutschmark was only created later after World War II, so it's the Reichsmark. In France, after the revolution, in the aftermath of the revolution. The economy wasn't doing well. They had a lot of debts, and they started issuing assignats, which was a paper money based on the value, based on the church lands that the revolutionaries in France confiscated from the church and also from the nobility in France, for the upper class. And at the beginning, they thought this will help kickstart the economy. We can always withdraw the paper money, because it wasn't seen as a good thing. Issuing paper money, people knew what it was then. It was fraud. So they didn't want to really, they did it reluctantly. But they found that every time they withdrew the circulation of the paper money, the economy would go back down. So they had to print even more, and then confidence was lost. And why do I say cryptocurrencies are a symptom of hyperinflation or loss of confidence? Well, I found a passage here in this book, When Money Dies, by Adam Ferguson. And I'll put the link below if you want to buy the book in the description. And it's on page 139. And it says here, communities printed their own money based on goods, on a certain amount of potatoes or rye, for instance. Shoe factories paid their workers in bonds for shoes, which they could exchange at the bakery for bread or the meat market for meat. So really interesting. I know it wasn't cryptocurrencies back then. People didn't have computers back in the 1920s, of course. But they issued their own money based on real goods because it got so out of order. You know, the government money, you know, the country's currency became worthless. So interesting that we're seeing the same thing. It's not widespread, of course, with the cryptocurrencies, but I think it's just a symptom that people are losing confidence in this system. And a lot of people who are in cryptocurrencies have realized that. Bitcoin Ben yesterday, recently with his interview he made with his wife, he was saying he was in the housing industry, and when things collapsed and his business, he had to liquidate his business, he started looking into why this system, why it happened, why the money failed in '08, why the loans stopped, and he, you know, got interested in cryptocurrencies because it was a way to cure that. So, and also precious metals, of course, is the same thing. They had to find a way to fight the hyperinflation. I would argue that we already have some kind of hyperinflation, especially for the general public. A lot of people are finding it hard to get by, to pay their rent, to buy food even. I saw an advert, I heard an advert on the radio in London the other day. They're a charity for kids. And the radio presenter said, yes, please donate. A lot of children in London during the school holidays, you know, the summer holidays, with their parents at work, they're hard up. They can't afford to feed them properly because during the school year, the school feeds them, right? The state schools. In the US, they call it public schools. Here, the public schools are private. But, you know, in London, people are needing help to feed their children during vacations. So, yeah, I think we do have a little bit of that. And, yeah, the popularity of the cryptocurrencies is, in my opinion, a symptom of that. At the moment, the central bankers, the people who run the system, as it's a global world system run by several big nations, they're able to control it for now. In France, of course, in the 1790s, it was just France doing that experiment, and it failed, of course. And I found a really interesting section of this book as well, Fiat Money Inflation. And I'll read it to you, and you see, you know, it's very familiar, especially here in the UK. It says, Even worse than this was the breaking down of the morals of the country at large, right? Resulting from the sudden building up of ostentatious wealth in a few large cities. Well, read the 1%, their mega yachts, their conspicuous consumption, right? And from the gambling. Well, in the UK here, you can see, you can gamble on anything, on the football, on anything you want. I even saw that Italy is trying to ban the gambling websites. Is that the way forward? Maybe. It says, speculative spirits spreading from these to the small towns and rural districts. Yeah, with the World Cup, there's an advert. I don't watch too much TV, but I watch some of the games. And this Bet365 UK gambling site, the guy goes, oh, you can bet from anywhere with us. You can be anywhere. From this was developed an even more disgraceful result, the decay of a true sense of national good faith. Well, how can you have good faith, national good faith as well, when your government is lying to you all the time, not only in the US, but in the UK, in Europe? Can we really have faith in them? And that's a symptom, I think, of the fiat money inflation that we have today. They're trying to save the system at all costs. The patriotism, which the fear of the absolute monarchy, the machinations of the court party, the menaces of the army, and the threats of all monarchical Europe had been unable to shake, was gradually disintegrated by this same speculative stock jobbing habit fostered by the superabundant currency. So even then, people started, gambling, trading, stock jobbing. It's the same nowadays. The regular person, the average person, has access to all the tradings, all the ETFs. So yeah, I think we are. When it's going to happen, I don't know. But you need to be prepared. That's why I always recommend people have physical gold and silver and be out of this, corrupt system. Because when it goes, you're going to lose everything you have in the system. Everything around you, the world will not change. So that's a positive, in my opinion. Some people get too pessimistic about it. I think it would be a good thing to cleanse out the system we have. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please share it far and wide. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on DTube, on Steemit, and on Twitter. And I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.